For more on Facebook's alliance with Microsoft Skype is a man who knows Facebook inside and out. David Kirkpatrick is the author of The Facebook Effect. He's spent a lot of time with Mark Zuckerberg and joins us live from New York. David, welcome back to Bloomberg West. So first of all,
Thanks,
this announcement today, you say you were expecting more. Where did Facebook's announcement fall short?
Well, I think it was a pretty awesome announcement. I think to make Skype so easy to use, Skype video, is a big deal when you're talking about 750 million people. And I think what I had just been hoping, and I think this will happen in time, is that basically you replace phone numbers with your Facebook friend list. That's really what the opportunity is for Skype and Facebook working together. So that, and ideally on your mobile device, you can look down and you're not going to have numbers. You're just going to call a person. That is really where this all needs to go. I was a little disappointed, by the way, that this won't work on mobile and that it won't work on audio. But still, the idea that we can easily have video chat with people using Skype is a big deal.
Now, what do you think about this new number, 750 million active users? What does that tell you about user acquisition and the pace of user acquisition?
It says that it has been going quite well. It's actually slowed down slightly from what it was a year ago. I've been saying kind of around publicly in my appearances that Facebook probably had about 750 million for about a month. So I think they could have gotten there a little earlier if their pace of growth had continued. But, you have the law of large numbers, and I think they are slowing in their actual growth. But Zuckerberg made a big point today of saying that the key metric for them is no longer user growth as much as it is sharing growth. And he made a big point about how there's an exponential growth in sharing, and that the average user of Facebook today is sharing twice as much as they were a year ago, which I thought was quite interesting.
All right, I want to bring John Ehrlichman into this conversation now. He's also been covering this story today. John?
Well, Emily and David, good of you to join us. I talked earlier about how this relationship between Microsoft and Facebook has evolved. Did you really think, I mean, you've been covering the company for a long time, it was going to evolve in this way?
Well, I didn't know Microsoft was going to buy Skype. I think it was probably a good move. I think Facebook and Skype have been talking for a long time. They had an existing deal. Their discussions go back as far as a year and a half. But there's no question that it's hugely in Microsoft's interest to stay super close to Facebook, given the degree to which they fear and despise Google. And it is, to some degree, indicative, I think, of a growing closeness between Facebook and Microsoft. And I, too, as you noted, was somewhat struck by Zuckerberg's language in talking about Microsoft, because, in fact, historically, he's been somewhat more lukewarm in the way he talked about Microsoft. And if he's really feeling like trusting them and feeling really good about them, that's really good for Steve Ballmer.
And what does that tell you about his development, Mark Zuckerberg's development over the years? I mean, you interviewed him a few years back when obviously things were a lot different.
Well, certainly he continues to mature as a leader. I consider him an extraordinary leader who, this company has made very few false moves. I mean, you can talk about privacy, but they've gotten past all of those like in the blink of an eye. I am extraordinarily impressed with Zuckerberg's evolution as a leader. And I think he's thinking more strategically about how to interact with other companies now than he ever was before.
David, the plot has certainly thickened just in the last week with the launch of Google+, Google's social networking service. How do you see that impacting Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg rising to that challenge?
Well, I look at it in two ways. First of all, in general, I don't think Google Plus at the moment poses any fundamental threat to Facebook. I think it is clearly an impressive product. It's getting great reviews. The Digerati early adopters are flocking to it, but I don't think it is different enough from Facebook that the average user of Facebook could care less. So I see no evidence that to suggest there might be any flocking of Facebook users to Google+. It'll probably be a moderately successful product, and it'll be around for a while. They'll improve it, and we may have something of a horse race in terms of features. But here's what I'll say more significantly in a way. Facebook is very afraid of Google. They're extremely focused on what Google does and how Google might hurt them, and for obvious reasons. Google's an extraordinary technology company with unbelievable resources, and so they got to take this seriously, and they do. Now, Zuckerberg said today at the beginning of the announcement that this is the beginning of launch season for Facebook. suggesting that there are going to be a number of other announcements of new features and products in coming months. I think that's partly because of their concern that Google is getting better at social, and they have to keep on their game or they will potentially get hurt.
Is the launch or the rise of another social network something that Mark Zuckerberg actively worries about?
Well, I think it's because it's Google. I don't think in general he thinks he's in any particular jeopardy. But the point I made before is really what I'm trying to say. It's all about incremental innovation. Zuckerberg is fine as long as Facebook keeps getting better. But Google is now in the game with a product that it itself will get better and will continue to improve. And if Facebook stays, static, it will get in trouble. So it just ups the pressure on them to really, stay innovating, as they've done an extraordinary job doing up to now.
David Kirkpatrick, author of The Facebook Effect, thanks for weighing in. Always great to hear your thoughts.
Thanks for having
on
me.
Facebook.
Thanks a lot.